Do you want to win your fantasy football league? Are you sick and tired of your jabroni friends taking down the title every year? Well, you're going to want to stick around for this video because I have a league winner at all four positions of fantasy football. I'm talking quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, a league winner at every one of those positions so you can beat your league mates and win this year's fantasy football championship. All right, let's start at tight end. And I'm going to give you a guy that you've known a long time, someone who's been playing fantasy or been a major cog in the fantasy football machine for years. And that's Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs. Folks, fantasy football, it doesn't always have to be so dang hard. Yes, Travis Kelce will be 36 years old at some point this season. Yes, he is coming off of a down year in 2024, but that down year that people are panicking about was still tight end 5. Overall, he still saw 133 targets, still had almost 100 receptions, just 3 shy of the century mark last year, and still scored over 12 fantasy points per game. Now, I understand there are some, red flags, the age and whatnot, the fall off, but you don't have to draft him until pick 104. He's tight end 9 right now off the board. So I understand wanting to be risk averse in fantasy football. Matter of fact, I think, managing your risk and trying to limit that risk is a really great strategy. I think it can help you win. But being delusional about that risk, well, that's not going to do you or your team any favors. And the risks of Travis Kelce are baked into the ADP, into the price. Okay, so we're okay putting in this type of investment in an aging tight end when you don't have to use a top 100 pick to get him. You don't have to wait until tight end 9. Good price. Okay, and for the dust conversation as well, talk about Travis Kelce being dust. Well, if you pop the top and look at the analytical profile, which I highly suggest you do for all players, you'll see this. He really popped in a number of key metrics still in his down year. Good juke rate, good explosive rating, saw a lot of air yards, ranked high amongst tight ends in NFL in yards per team pass attempt, and even his EPA, his expected points added, it was pretty good. Not as great as it always is, but still, we're talking about top 5, top 7 marks in the league. This guy doesn't look like who he's done. He doesn't look like a guy who's done and dusted. He still has another season left, and that's all we need for Mr. Travis Kelce. That swan song year, that final chapter, he's going to come out, and he's definitely going to give you at least a top 8 tight end, and you have to use a top 9 tight end investment to get him. That's why Travis Kelce is a league winner in 2025. The next league winner that I'm going to talk about in today's video is the wide receiver from the New Orleans Saints, Chris Olave. Let's start where he's being selected in drafts because there are red flags. I'll admit it. The concussion history is worrisome. But coming off the board at wide receiver 33 is simply too low. First and foremost, let's not forget the prospect pedigree that Chris Olave came into the NFL with. This was a highly touted kid out of Ohio State just a few years ago. He ran a 4.39 40 at the combine. The Saints took him with the 11th overall pick just 3 years ago. And just a short time after he was selected and performed on the field, we were all, up in arms. We were all happy about Chris Olave in fantasy football, and he was being discussed amongst some of the best wide receivers in fantasy. Before that concussion last year, didn't play a full season last year, but before that, back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons. He was wide receiver 25 and wide receiver 19, far past the price, far exceeding the price you have to spend on Chris Olave. He does appear to be healthy. Reports as he should, be able to come into 2025 and perform at the levels he's used to before he hurt his head last year. And there are some changes in New Orleans, right? New offensive-minded head coach Kellen Moore installed. He will have a new quarterback. Tyler Shuck is probably going to be the starting quarterback for most of the season. I know Shuck comes with his red flags as well, but he's a guy with a big arm. He is a quarterback that will be able to get Chris Olave the ball deep. And due to such a thin wide receiver room, Olave could see 125, 130, 140 targets. And with his ability to make plays deep, if you give that player with that prospect profile 130 plus targets, he will have success in fantasy football. And if you're only having to use a cheap price, like you could get him as wide receiver 33 in drafts, That is exactly what we're looking for league winners, and that's why Chris Olave is a 2025 fantasy football league winner. The next league winner that I'm going to talk about is a quarterback. Let's head to the quarterback position, people, and let's talk about the new signal caller in New York, Justin Fields, new QB for the Jets. He is a proven elite rushing quarterback, which we love for fantasy football. His 2 years as starter in Chicago, he ran for more than 63 yards a game. That is a 6.3 fantasy point floor, not even counting touchdowns or passing yards. We love rushing quarterbacks. Both years where he was a starter, both years he played over 12 games. He was a top 10 quarterback both of those seasons. Last year wasn't great. He got passed. He got benched. He saw his playing time be given to Russell Wilson. But in the games in which he played those first 6 weeks, 19.1 fantasy points per game. I mean, if he would have finished the whole season at that pace, we're looking at anywhere from QB 12 to QB 15. But we like to talk about WoRP here at South Harmon, wins over replacement. Now, if you look at his WoRP per game last year, third best amongst quarterbacks. Again, people, we love rushing quarterbacks. And when you look at drafts, he's coming off the board as QB 13. Now, I don't always love taking a player at his perceived floor, but given Justin Fields' upside and his, ability to just smash based on the rushing, yeah, I'm using my late round 9 pick, my early round 10 pick to get my quarterback. This is the guy I'm ready to go to battle with because of that rushing upside. And I mean, you look at the team, who's going to take his minutes? Who's going to take snaps away from Justin Fields? He projects to be the starter the entire 2025 season. And a little cherry on top, he might be playing behind the best offensive line that he has in his entire career. I mean, back-to-back first-round investments on that offensive line. Elijah Vera Tucker is now going to be able to settle in the interior of that line. They have a really strong line. At least they project to have a strong line in New York. Again, maybe the best Justin Fields has ever had the privilege of playing with in his young NFL career. Rushing floor, rushing upside, better offensive line, still got enough weapons to succeed in New York. Yeah, Justin Fields is a league winner in 2025. All right, we talked tight end, we talked wide receiver, we talked quarterback. Now let's talk about running back. Who is the league winner at the running back position for this year's fantasy football season? And it is none other than Mr. DeAndre Swift from the Chicago Bears. Little fun fact here. In his entire career, Swift has finished running back 24 or better on a points per game basis. And you know where he's being selected? He's being drafted as running back 35. Not even close to his historical performance when you kind of measure the two. He's only heading into his age 26 season. So, yeah, he's at the end of the age apex, but he's still in that range, that success range that we look for athletes at this position. And he's shown to be a playmaker with the ball in his hands. He had 972 yards created last year, 2.6 broken tackles forced per game, and had a 3.6% breakaway run rate. Some good efficiency metrics there. He also has displayed the ability to catch the ball, to be a weapon in the passing game pretty much throughout his entire career. He's averaged 47.4 catches a season. We love that in our PPR formats. And he was 8th in running back routes last year and 5th in running back yards per reception. Guy's still effective out of the backfield. And I don't know if you realize this. Maybe you've heard it before. Ben Johnson, new head coach, loves to utilize the running backs, loves those jitterbugs, those quick running backs. And DeAndre Swift, I believe, will still have that role in this Ben Johnson offense. And believe it or not, people, DeAndre Swift was a top 50 overall player last year in wins over replacement. Again, we love WoRP here at South Harmon. So when we're talking about a top 50 overall player in terms of his value last year that many consider a down year, you factor in his ability to catch the ball, and then you talk about a guy who you don't have to use that type of draft capital towards. You could wait until the 35th running back off the board for a guy who only finishes as a top 24 running back. And that is why DeAndre Swift is the running back league winner for 2025 fantasy football season. Folks, we did it. We went through quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, a league winner at every single spot. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you're subscribed to the South Harmon Fantasy Football channel. And if you just love what we're doing here at South Harmon, or maybe you want to learn about WoRP yourself, head over to southharmonff.com. You can follow me on X at Matty Kiwoom. Until next week, people, I'll see you later. Peace.